All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us and welcome to another Top Stories podcast episode. Do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. Now, I like to say this in the beginning of my videos. When I ask you to comment below, what you'll find is that I respond to every comment that is placed in our comment section. I respond personally. So go ahead and put in your comments as we interact throughout this video. I want to ask a question to you tonight. We've had an opportunity to talk a little bit more about Sharon Moore, his falling out, him losing his job, losing his career, his marriage being on the rocks. Now that we've had an opportunity to talk about Sharon Moore and to talk about his life and how he messed up. Let's take a little more time and talk about you. Let's talk about your life now. We've heard what happened about the ex head coach, Michigan football. I'm here in Detroit, Michigan, and so that's obviously a story, an issue, a situation that's very near and dear to my heart. Go Blue. But you know what? As a man, if we're going to be honest and transparent with ourselves, me speaking for myself, as the dust has begun to settle, and we're really kind of coming to grips with Sharon Moore's humanity, as the dust settles and we begin to come in contact with the fact that he's actually just a man who has made some obviously egregious mistakes, but mistakes that aren't uncommon, weirdly enough. And so as the smoke settles, everyone does the initial reactions, but as the smoke and the dust begins to settle, the conversations that tend to take place moving forward have to take place amongst adults. When this conversation starts, it starts with whoever has the floor, whoever is guiding the conversation. They start by saying something along the lines of, he without sin cast the first stone. Like, you can't really even have a true conversation about reconciliation, about growth, and about, displaying that you've learned the lessons that there are to be learned when things like this happen, unless the people who are at the table, who are a part of the conversation, are honest man and woman enough to say, we've all sinned in one way or the other. Because that acknowledgement itself is what keeps someone from being thrown overboard. You know what I mean? The idea, the reality, the reminder that we've all fallen short in one way or the other. And so as that conversation begins to take place, both internally and maybe in some of the group chats you may have in your phone, two things come to mind, and this is really what I want to talk about with you. And this is a man-to-man or an adult-to-adult conversation. Because I am of the belief that when things like this happen, oftentimes it's an opportunity for God to talk to you. Oftentimes, over the years, being someone who is not perfect, right? Many of us, husbands, fathers, have transgressed in one way or the other. And so it's so important that you never lose sight of the fact that you have a past, right? That you've sinned, that you've done something. But then something also comes to mind when you look at what it takes in order for Sharon Moore to do everything that he's being accused of. There must be periods in your life where you don't check your blind spots. I believe periodically it's our duty as men, as husbands, as fathers, to check your blind spots. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when I had a trucking company and if a driver didn't show up and I ended up on the road, it's my responsibility to check my tires. You know what I mean? Before you get on the middle of the highway and you're somewhere in between, Dalton, Georgia and Mississippi, you know what I mean? It's just somewhere on I-20 somewhere with a flat tire. No, it's your job. And so when things happen like this with other people, man to man, sometimes it's best for us to use this opportunity to look internally in a way that we oftentimes stop other people from doing so. So here's that moment for you. After watching what's happened to him in the public space, here's your opportunity to ask yourself, how am I doing with my marriage? Come on, it's a question to ask myself. Before I made this video, I had to ask myself, have I grown so cold and callous that I'm responding to stories more, or female, whatever? Well, listen, because here's the thing. If you can't have that conversation internally with yourself, then oftentimes what we realize is that there aren't a lot of people that we can have that conversation with. But that's my next point. Before we get to point number 2, let me drill home point number 1. When people like this fall from grace in a public way, we as men need to use this as an opportunity to look at ourselves. Because we all know that there are things that happen, and sometimes they continue to happen until we're what? Until we're caught like he is. So again, kick your tires, check your blind spots. Are there any inappropriate conversations that you're having? Are there any flirtatious conversations at work, church, etc.? That cashier at the grocery store that you like to see, has that kind of gotten out of? Come on, talk to yourself. Second thing, and I'll hurry into a close. Who's in your corner? Who's in your corner? Do you have a person that'll tell you about yourself? Do you have someone that'll pull you to the side and say, no, wait a minute, man, this has gone too far. Or wait a minute, now wait. Now, if you're going to do that, that's fine. But what? You're not going to do it with my help. I'm not going to turn a blind eye to it. So here's an opportunity. As we look at what's happened to this young man, as we look at how this young man has fallen from grace, here's an opportunity for us to ask ourselves as men and women. 1, have I grown complacent in the integrity walk that I have? Am I actually living the life that I display? Right? That's 1. And then 2, do I have people around me in my corner that will not turn a blind eye to what I'm doing, that will hold me to account, that will keep me accountable, that will keep me honest, and that will say, this is wrong. This is wrong. And both of those as men, they're our responsibilities. Kicking your own tires, checking the blind spots in those areas of weakness. You know where you're vulnerable. You know where you're weak. You know that you like snow bunnies more than you like Asian women. You know where you're weak. You know you like liquor more than you like marijuana. You know that, right? So you got to check it yourself. In this second, you got to make sure, reassess your circle, big or small. I got to have people that are going to keep me from jeopardizing my livelihood, my career, my future, right? That's what you got to have. And I believe that's what Sherrod Moore did not do and did not have. But again, we're going to use this as an opportunity to tie up any of our loose ends, because what you'll see, if you're honest, is that this young brother is just like you and me. Let's keep it real. He's just like you and me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I respond to all my comments. Hit me up below. Have a good one.